Oh, hello. So at least have lots of people. Yeah, very good.
¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están?
¿Cómo va?
Good evening. From my perspective, at least, yeah.
Pasamos entonces a el bloque 3, ya, el bloque final casi de esto que es IoT Day 2026. Y estamos con nuestro invitado especial. Él es Rob van Kranenburg. Él es un teórico, activista y emprendedor neerlandés, considerado uno de los padres del movimiento del IoT global. Fundó el IoT Day en 2010 y ha sido asesor de comisiones europeas en temas de tecnología e identidad digital. Su visión del IoT va mucho más allá de los gadgets. Para Rob, conectar objetos es un acto político que rediseña el poder de la privacidad y la ciudadanía. Publicó The Internet of Things en 2008, cuando casi nadie usaba ese término. El combustible que hace posible el IoT masivo es el protocolo IP.
¿Sigue ahí?
Sí, está acá. ¿Se me escucha a mí, no? Sí.
Sí, se te escucha perfecto.
Entonces,
Hola,
llegamos
sí,
al momento, a
estamos.
uno de los momentos más especiales de la tarde.
Hola, Lucas.
Desde los
No,
países.
igual quería consultarle a Nach si sigue.
Tengo abierto otro, esperen un segundito. Acá está.
Okay.
Ahí volví. Estaba escuchando una voz y decía, ¿qué está pasando? Desde Países Bajos conectamos con Rob van Kranenburg, el creador del IoT Day, el hombre que en 2008 escribió un libro con ese título cuando nadie sabía que existía siquiera ese concepto. El pensador que convirtió una idea técnica en un movimiento global. Rob, desde Argentina, desde la provincia de Misiones, desde la red más grande de espacios Maker distribuidos por el territorio de Latinoamérica, es un honor tenerte con nosotros. Voy a intentar el inglés, aunque no me sale muy bien. From Netherlands, I connect with Rob van Kranenburg, the creator of IoT Day, and you wrote a book with that title. No one knew exactly what the concept meant. Rob from Argentina, from the province of Misiones, from the largest makerspace network in Latin America. Welcome. It's an honor to have you here today on the help create today. Rob, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor to be here and to be here again, because I was here again with the team, and so yes. So my background is not really technical. It's more in languages and literature, and through hypertext, I went to a conference in 2000, and I realized that people were building a world in which all the objects and people were radiating characteristics called data, and that this data would then be stored in some kind of a layer, and that this data would be used for decision making in local or greater environments. And I was really struck, basically, because in 2000 there was not really any governance about to think about this as an architecture, and so I thought, well, this is really a paradigm shift, and in the same way as the internet hit the regions, like for example in the US, it went through the founder narratives and the entrepreneurial individuals. That's why we have such amount of wealth in the hands of 10, 12 people. In Europe, the governments and civil servants were busy building Europe. So they thought, oh, a little office, a little cloud. We as a governance, we will be able to keep the upper hand. So that we will have an analog world and a little bit of digital. But the Chinese engineers and the presidents in China, the engineers, from 1993, we now have 3 presidents that are engineers, including the last one, the current one. They realized that this internet was actually an ontological shift. It was going to build a hybrid world, not just analog and digital, but analog and digital combined. Because they were engineers, they saw this. So they closed down China with the deep packet inspection bubble, and they built their own layers, which make them now very, very strong. In a sense that they have a strong digital autonomy and they can steer on all the layers. In Europe, we cannot. So we have a strong 80 to 85% hyperscaler, US hyperscaler dependence. And so we see the last years this notion of sovereignty coming up, the notion of national clouds, people wanting to have a European take on Internet of Things, and especially AI. And this is now a moment in which this all comes together. So we have the Internet for the past 50 years. Then we have the Internet of Things from about 1990, 2000. And now we're going into the Internet of Agents. And as we go into the Internet of Agents, paradoxically, we might be able to solve issues that we have in IoT, which is security, privacy, and trust. And what we see happening is that we see much more intelligence being pushed, as they say, to the edge. That means that you do not have an operation that is constantly or having a real-time connection to the cloud, but you store more data locally on devices, and you also do more analysis on these devices. So basically, what we see is that the agency is shifting to the semiconductor world, to the world of people making chips. And what we see is that we see AI running from the chip, and AI agents will be running from the chip, because we need a full audit trail in this new environment that is going to be extremely crazy and hectic, because we may have millions, even billions of these agents that are not only going to operate in software, but also are going to be going to act in robots, in robotic environments. So the Internet of Things, and the Internet of Agents is coming together. And this is a very nice moment, because this is like the Internet, is like a new moment. So everyone is able to build their own architecture, hopefully together. So maybe it would be fantastic to have like a Latin American kind of architecture for the entire region. But and yeah, I cannot help but say it. I think personally that the work that Stafford Beer did in Chile with CyberSyn is something to look at again, and to look into very deeply, because for me the whole point of starting IoT Day and was to have conversations with people between the hype and the scare on a normal, realistic conversational level, and to say, look, we are able to have a layer of decision making based on data coming from sensors and sensors in environments in the broad sense of the word. And I think that this layer of data is a better basis for building decision making than what we see now happening across the planet and on the world and in the world.
Yes,
So I think that the engineers should hopefully or can become more political, not in the sense of forming political parties, but in trying to influence more the large scale decision making in the architectures, both in the companies but also in institutions and in the countries.
I think that the last part can kind of respond one of our questions that we have for you. That is, what needs or ideas lead to the creation of IoT Day, and how did that begin? I understand that this make a lot of help to the new gens to get better decisions on the countries and the governments and all this develop that we can have with all this information. And I like so much the part of the form the architecture that have Europe and China. I know that China is so powerful today, making his systems and now engineering some new technology. That's so great. So I say,
yeah. So so in 2009, I was invited to work in European projects, and since then I have been working in European projects, and then I realized we had conferences, we had papers, we had project meetings, we had dissemination, and it was all quite formal in a way. And so I thought that for this IoT day, the basis was just to, like for example in Athens, my good friend Dimitrios, he set up a LinkedIn event, and he said, I will be there in this restaurant this evening at 7 o'clock. If you want to join me, join me. And I know they are now having dinner and a beer, and then also know that a lot of people in the IoT community in Athens that do not know each other now are there, and that the CTO is maybe sitting next to a junior programmer, and they get to talk to each other in a way that they never ever can otherwise, not in the company and not in the conferences. For example, one of the best IoT day events I had in Belgium, in Ghent, was that I went to talk to all my neighbors in my apartment block, and we went to one of the neighbors, and we had coffee and cake, and I talked about the Internet of Things, and that was great because I got really tough questions because people were really saying, "Well, what is this?" So that's what it's about. It's trying to have like this self-organized events, not with hundreds of people, not with 50 people. It doesn't matter how many people there are, but to have a conversation, to bring technology, people, and society closer in a very conversational
to develop
way.
a better community, and so we can all be a better experience all together.
Yes, absolutely. And
Let me a little time so I can traduce to my coworkers that in the stream in Argentina can understand all the people.
Yeah.
Acá nos cuenta Rob que pasó desde 2009 que él fue invitado y se dio cuenta que en Europa había mucho papeleo, había muchos proyectos, gente que desarrollaba y trabajaba para proyectos europeos y que no había mucha conversación, digamos, o sea, tuvo una vez que tuvo un encuentro con un amigo que es muy bueno con lo de, estaba haciendo un encuentro de LinkedIn y la idea que él tuvo con todo esto del IoT fue poder juntar la gente, digamos, vos podés hacer un evento en el IoT, un propio evento que no hace falta que lo organice una gran empresa, una gran persona, cualquier persona puede organizar su evento y compartir con gente de los mismos rubro, por así decirlo. Entonces, por ejemplo, vos puedes estar sentado al lado de un gran empresario que puede saber, o un gran programador de IoT que sabe muchísimas cosas, aunque vos seas un programador junior, y vos quizás tenés las preguntas más completas que podrías hacer y no sabes dónde buscar, tener en cualquiera de estas reuniones alguien que te pueda ayudar y así poder reforzar la comunidad, aprender todos juntos y ir mejorando. Eso fue uno de los motivos para poder tener el IoT Day, en parte, para poder mejorar todos juntos también. No sé si... another question that we have, otra pregunta que tenemos es, estos años, ¿qué cambio te sorprendió más en el mundo del Internet de las cosas? Over the years, what change in the world of the IoT has surprised you the most?
So what surprised me the most in 2000 was that I was in this group. It was called the Disappearing Computer. So this was in the days of ambient intelligence, that was a term by Philips, pervasive computing, that was a term by IBM, and ubiquitous computing was a term by Xerox PARC and Mark Weiser. If you Google Mark Weiser, 1991, you find a really, really brilliant text, Computing for the 21st Century. And Mark Weiser is sitting behind his desk, and he's realizing that he has a computer for a long time, but the computer doesn't know him. He doesn't he thinks that's strange. And he has a vision of taking components out of the computer and putting them into the environment so that the environment becomes smart. And this I think is very logical. So I think it's very logical that this is happening. But what surprised me is that the intelligence building it was not really talking to each other. So ideally, we would have had engineers, sociologists, psychologists, and philosophers more together in building the governance for these systems. So that's why the reaction of the regions is so important. So in Europe, we have lawyers and economists around 2000 when it's important to understand what's happening, and just 1995 or 1990 already. In Europe, we have the lawyers and the economists. Again, in the European Commission, we have 12 lawyers out of 26 top positions. So what they will do is they see everything in text. So the last commission had brought out 18 acts, and this commission will probably bring out also 18 acts. We have 0 engineers in the European Commission at this moment, 0, not one engineer. 2 physicists, but these are more theoretical, but not one engineer.
Yes.
Now,
Different from China, for example, that his president is an engineer and they have a good team from people who know how the technology is going now.
absolutely. So I've been in China a lot, and also last year again in Shanghai to talk with a smart city context, and of course, I mean, not everything is perfect and not everything is right. There are also 800 million cameras. That's a bit too much, right? Sort of this. So we need a balance between centralization and decentralization. So, but what they did very rightly was understanding the situation, reading the times. In Holland, and in the Middle Ages, sort of in 1452, we can print a book. But in Holland, we could have made all the citizens literate by 1500. Now, we did not do that. We was the king and the church. They were not really happy to make everybody literate and educate all the people. Now, they also did not do that in 1600. They even did not do that in 1700. In 1806, we have the first legal basis for schools. I mean, that's like 300 years after we could actually make everybody literate. Imagine imagine a Europe or other nations that basically would have made people literate 50 years after they could have print books and built schools. But this was raw power stalling, distributing learning tools. So in comes the internet in around the 80s and the 70s. This is a fundamentally crazy protocol that says pass on a packet. There's no teachers, there's no gatekeepers, there's no nothing. It's a virus. And it goes across the world like crazy, like wildfire. Of course, it just says pass on the packet. And if you would have a protocol like this now, nobody would put it out. Everybody would kill it the moment that but this was a very strange moment that we had with the windsurf and Bob Kahn coming with this fantastic, crazy protocol. And so this is really important to understand, because it also makes you understand yourself better, because you grew up in this. When I was at the university in the 80s, we built websites before the internet, before the browser, before Mosaic in 1993. We built websites with Dreamweaver before that, in the end of the 80s. And we were very happy because we came from the book, and this book we could now take apart, and we built hypertext components from that book. So we were thinking we are rebels. We are liberatory. We're gonna really open up all this. We're going to escape the gaze of the author, and so we did that. But we did not think, my generation, the boomers, we did not think about what it would mean to grow up in such an environment, because we really still did know what we clicked out of. We knew the book we clicked out of, we took apart. So we still had these small notions of closure, where you actually have a little end for a while.
Yes,
one thing
that surprised me is that in my generation is really difficult to know, so can't learn something. But I know that some old generation in Argentina, some people don't know how to read, and this is like a gatekeeping problem from the education on the past. And that surprised me because all today we just talk our phone and Google whatever we want to know, and it's a open world to learn something that you never think about.
Yes, and so this is basically our fault. So again, we built. So we still came from this book period where we had a beginning, middle, and an end. We could have a discussion, point to things, but you grew up in a total mess. So in a situation in which there's no beginning, no middle, no end. So there's also no closure, and closure is very important. These small moments of closure. So if you don't have them, you have to build them. But then nobody's learning you how to build them and how to do that. So what we see across the planet now is these attempts to go back to this notion of the book, to tell to younger generations, you cannot have the phone, you cannot have these apps, da, da, da. But this is not the way forward. The way forward is for you and your generation to decide for yourself and find new formats of quality in that mess, because your brain is doing very other things, but they're doing also good things. They're doing great things. So not to be able to read a novel, I mean, it's maybe not that problematic, because we did that in the 1800s. I mean, your formats of quality are quite different. So it's really tough on you. It's really tough. I would find it very difficult to be Generation X or Generation Alpha at the moment. Because it's, like I said, it's us, it's the boomers who created this situation, in which so we give you tools back from 1452. We give you tools that worked in the book age. But of course, these tools are not going to work in your world. So, so you're in a tough situation, but you know that. So it's really important to talk to your friends, to talk to the generation, and to explain to the generation what is happening, why they are feeling like this. They have to look forward, because we're going into a world of more connectivity. And the people who will be able to survive in that mess, to build their own forms of resilience in this noise, to swim in the noise, as a friend told me, these are very important qualities. So you should not look back. These old forms of qualities will no longer actually be realistic. You have to look forward, and there's not really a lot of guidance there. You really have to do it together.
We have to develop our new tools to develop new solutions for the situation that we are right now, like the new solution, new technology. Because happens to me that some professors then say, no, you can do that math with this calculator that is a lot of equations, a lot of things, but you have to know how to do it without a calculator, and it's this problem. And then you think, why I will be without a calculator? I have it in my phone. I have it. Isn't that solution? But it's for a big problem, for another problem. Example.
Yeah, no, I understand. So when I was teaching at the Technical University of Eindhoven, we were in the room with all the teachers, and I was saying, look, we have to teach the students now some architecture and some governance, because we are teaching them to make all smart, intelligent products. But these products are going to operate together. So at some moment, these products are going to work together. So we have to learn them the tools of how to make them work together. So I said we need at least an hour sort of for that. But then the teacher who was doing the drawing teacher, got very mad and very upset because if we would have another hour, we would take an hour from his drawing. And he said, look, if the students are no longer able and are not wanting to draw in architecture or technical design is extremely important, because this is this brings you back to your human capacities and capabilities. If you do all this programming on the computer, I mean, you build worlds, but if you draw, you realize that there are things that make you human, and that you need to have this human skill. And so this is the same thing with the equations and calculators.
Yes.
It's still good to do the equation without the calculator, only because if the calculator breaks down, if the electricity, as we see now, that is so non-resilient, if all of that breaks down, you cannot do the calculation. But more importantly, you need to build the map in your head for doing that calculation. And I agree with you, you should not do it 1,000 times. And then you can use the calculator, but you should at least do it 10 times. You should try to force yourself, I think, to do the equation without the calculator at least 10 times, so you know you can do it, and you get more confidence. You build confidence when you're able to do that.
Sorry, Rob. I'm gonna resume a little for the people.
Yeah,
Lo que nos cuenta es que algo muy importante del avance ha sido, por ejemplo, de generaciones pasadas a generaciones de ahora, todo fue escrito, digamos, todo era papel, todo era libros, todo era, digamos, más analógico, por así decirlo. Ellos aprendían, vos querías conocer algo, tenías que ir a buscar una biblioteca, tenías que buscar un libro, tenías que aprender de esa forma, y los profesores nomás te pueden enseñar, por ejemplo. Y algo que nos cambia mucho a nosotros es que todos esos cambios y todas esas mejoras que se fueron haciendo fueron obviamente aprendiendo y basados en los conocimientos que tenían en esa época, ¿no? Por ejemplo, contó que ellos hicieron su propio website, su propia página, y ellos estaban muy contentos porque lo sacaron de un libro, pasaron de algo analógico a algo físico a una web digital online. Y eso es algo que, por ejemplo, hoy en día nosotros es una tecnología que es más normal, ¿no? Es algo que un chico de la red, por ejemplo, puede hacer poner una web. Pero todo eso también tenía tanto un inicio como tenía un final ya bien definido. Eran tecnologías que estaban ya escritas y hechas de esa forma. Nosotros, como seguimos en una época donde todo se va desarrollando y además está mezclado con toda la tecnología pasada, escrito por gente que todavía hacía libros, escrito, digamos, hecho por conocimientos que no contemplaban la tecnología que tenemos ahora. El problema que tenemos nosotros es que tenemos que entender y crear nuestras propias herramientas para nuestros propios problemas hoy en día con esos nuevos sistemas creados anteriormente, ¿no? Porque no todas las soluciones que se tenían antes para los conocimientos anteriores nos van a servir directamente a nosotros. Y una de las cosas entonces que les sorprendió mucho, que les sorprendió de estos avances también, es la forma en la que avanzó toda esta tecnología. No sé si entendiste así también, o alguna cosa para corregir, Maurice. Estás muteado. Por las dos.
Está bien, hizo un mapeo más o menos a lo largo de la historia, cómo se conseguía el conocimiento y cómo se forjaba, ¿no? Más allá de que él se desarrolló en Europa, va más o menos de la mano. Antes era todo tangible, el conocimiento, como decía vos, de las bibliotecas, los libros, era todo físico. Ahora está todo en una nube, es digital, digamos, no lo podemos tocar. Exactamente, básicamente se habla de eso, y además con eso que no es tangible, que es más rápido, el poder acceder a eso es mucho más fácil de determinada manera que como era antes, que tendrías que pertenecer a una cierta clase social, cierto desarrollo. Bueno,
Exactamente.
bien. Pero sí, es eso.
Rob, on behalf of the entire Misiones Maker network, thank you so much. Your vision of IoT as a political, social, and community project is exactly the conversation we need right now. Not lost today, on this day, but always. We in the global south also create. We in the global south also think. And today from Misiones, we can prove it. Thank you, Rob. See you soon.